Good evening, everyone. My name is Holly Gordon, and I am the Chief Impact Officer for Participant Media. And I have the great honor of getting up every day and thinking about how we can make our films make a difference. And that also gives me the great honor of getting up every day and working with incredible leaders, like the two you are going to meet tonight in person, Kailash himself, and Nina Smith of GoodWeave. And if the definition of leadership is getting up day after day against the odds and fighting for others, I think you've seen by this film that we are in the presence of greatness in that regard. So welcome, Kailash and Nina, both of you who get up every single day and think about the welfare of the children of the next generation. And I just want to start off with you, Kailash, which is that you can't help but finish this film and ask the question, what happened with Sonu? You made a promise in January at Sundance when we premiered the film. And why don't you tell this audience about that promise and what's happened since?
Well, as you know, that when I was in Sundance, not only in premiere, but in all those screenings, adults and children, youth, asked one simple question. What is going to happen with Sonu? What are you going to do for Sonu? And my spontaneous answer was that, trust me, if Sonu is alive anywhere on this earth, I'm going to find him. And I cannot make false promises. I internalize it. My son, Bhuvan, who is a lawyer who has already been working to find him out through every possible means, he has filed a case in the High Court demanding for the facial recognition of every single child who is living in child care homes run by the government or juvenile homes, so that one can know the identity and try to match with possibly Sonu. It might have taken a year or two. But we did a simultaneous operation. In India, we have about 2,000 child care centers and homes where 10, 20, 100, 200 children stay, more in some cases. So out of them, we have targeted about 1,800. We formed the teams from my office and volunteers and others, search for Sonu. My people went to 1,722 places and tried to match the photo. At one place, there was a boy named Sonu, but he did not recall his address or anything. Then my local activist called me up and said that you have to see whether the same boy. So I had a FaceTime, thanks to technology. So when this photo, which was shown here, was taken, he was a very tiny child, maybe 5, 6-year-old. And now he is about 12 or so. And he was missing for almost 2 years. And I had an intuition, and I looked into his eyes, very empty eyes, and similar to his father's eyes. So I said, I want to go and meet this boy. So next day, it was not in Delhi, it was about 200 miles away from Delhi, in a hilly area, in a hill estate. So we drove, a few of my friends. And father was in Delhi already because he was also knocking every single door. He was standing in the crowds, in signal lights everywhere, and temples and mosques. So I went with his father, and this was Sonu. So we found Sonu finally. That was only about 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
How many of you have been to India? How many of you have been in India?
And for me, I always say that every single child matters. Just see, many of us have our own children, grandchildren, sisters and brothers. But at least each one of us was child one day. So every childhood matters. So for us, Sonu was not just someone who was portrayed in the film. Sonu was a son of a mother who had no other hope than me. And I am so pleased, so happy, and so fulfilled that Sonu is now living with his mother.
Yeah, has been reunited. And anyone who has been to India can understand how it boggles the mind that you can search high and low and find a child, and yet every child does matter. And your whole history, Kailash, has been born out of that that idea that you'll stand by nothing until every child is free. When we got involved with this film at Participant, I don't think any of us on the team had an understanding of how big this problem is. The distance between what our sense is, child labor, wasn't that over after the Industrial Revolution? And the current state of play, there's an enormous gap of awareness, and that's one of the reasons that we made this film, to put pressure on the systems that enable it to continue. And Nina, that's been your work for 20 years with Kailash. Can you tell us a bit about Rugmark, which you saw in the film, and how the relationship to GoodWeave, and the story of how you got involved in this fight yourself?
Sure. Well, thank you so much. And I just wanted to congratulate Participant and Kailash on an amazing film. I just saw it for the first time tonight, and it's wonderful. So thank you so much.
We couldn't make it without the heroes in it, so.
GoodWeave is actually the modern-day version of Rugmark. We rebranded from Rugmark to GoodWeave in 2009, in part so that we could take the work from the rug industry into other consumer products. And the GoodWeave label is the best assurance that no child labor was used in the making of a product. What goes behind that? We are involved in a lot of the kinds of interventions you saw in the film. We work in India, Nepal, and Afghanistan, mapping these supply chains, these complex supply chains that you saw. What's special is that we've found a way to partner closely with companies and build a market, a consumer market, and I would say a corporate demand, a market for companies to work in partnership with us to understand their complex supply chains beyond the factory that they normally see. To have zero tolerance for child labor. So when we find it, we rescue children in the way that you saw here, provide near and long-term rehabilitation for children, and also work on root causes, ensuring every child of the workers in the carpet industry and now new sectors have access to meaningful education. And you asked how I got involved so long ago in the early days. There's a longer story, I suppose, for all of us, but I will say in 1998 or 1999, I read an incredible article which speaks to the awareness, the importance of awareness in Vanity Fair magazine, and it was about the story of a boy named Iqbal Masih, who some of you may have heard about, and of course Kailash knows, and it's a story of Iqbal, who was what we would say a carpet slave. He was in the carpet industry in Pakistan. He escaped, he became an activist. He was honored by the Reebok Human Rights Foundation. He won the award, came to America, toured around America, engaging school children in the cause, and very tragically went back to Pakistan and was murdered. And I read this story and I just said, I have to work on this. And at the very end of the article, they said there's this man, Kailash Satyarthi, starting up something called Rugmark, and his friends in Washington are involved. And within weeks, I met those people and started a almost 20-year journey.
So that resonates with us because it's the power of media to change a life, to read something and to decide that you're going to do something about it. And I hope that hits home with all of you having seen this film, thinking about how your behavior, the choices you make can impact the future of a child. Kailash, we saw a lot about raids and factory child labor. That is not the only work that BBA, your organization, does. We saw a little bit in the circus storyline about sex trafficking. You have an extraordinary thing called child-friendly villages that you've created. Can you tell us a bit about the work that you do around India and around the world in terms of forwarding your mission for free children?
Yeah. So let me begin with the whole idea, the concept of social labeling or social voluntary labeling, which resulted in Rugmark and GoodWeave. I was, as usual, freeing children. When their parents come to me, I used to go and conduct dangerous rescue operations. So one day I was so happy to free a group of children from carpet industry. And the youngest boy was a very tiny boy, 9, 10-year-old. I did not see any emotion on his face after freeing him and the whole group of about 30, 40 children. So I went close to him and he did not want to talk, but I said that I'm going to take back to your home. And whom you want to meet first? He said, I wanted to meet my father because when I was kidnapped from my village, my father was sick. But a gentleman told me that his father passed away out of tuberculosis and they were very poor people. So I did not want to tell this to this boy, but I decided to go with him. So I drove to his village, which was about 150 kilometers from this place, where I freed him from. So I went in his village. He was a Muslim guy. And I was looking for his mother. Taslima was her name. So I was calling for Taslima. And I saw an old lady, old-looking, fragile lady, sitting in a small hut. And the boy was just holding my hand. Boy could not recognize his mother, because he was kidnapped when he was very young. So for 5, 6 years he lost, and the things changed. And he remained in trauma. So I called, Taslima, can you see that your son is back? And I could not feel that why she was not responding. She was looking at us. Then a little girl told me from the neighborhood that for 2 or 3 years, Taslima used to go and sit on a place where her son went to take some animals, some goats, etc., for grazing. And since he did not come back, she used to go there and cry every day, and she lost her eyes. So one can see that she can see. Her eyes were open, but she could not see. But I shouted, look, your son is here. Idris was the name of son. Idris is here. And it was like an electric spark. She hugged him, and as soon as they touched each other, they started crying, and they were so good. And I felt so accomplished that, okay. And luckily that day was Eid. the Muslim festival. And some villagers, Muslim people came and greeted me, and they could not believe that a non-Muslim or a Hindu, why will
Would
risk
be
his
helping.
life and bring all
Yeah.
these things. So that was the biggest Eid in that. So when I was coming back, accomplished, sitting in the railway station and waiting for my midnight train, then I saw that in the same train about 20, 30 boys, barefooted, and that was cold in Delhi, in India. They were coming down from the train. And I noticed that they are being taken for carpet industry because that was the carpet production hub. So I start stopping them, and the train left. 2 policemen came, they caught me and put me inside a small cage like police room at the station. And whole night I was sitting alone because it was a very small, abandoned kind of place. In dark night, and then I was very angry. I thought that tomorrow morning I will go on hunger fast and expose the whole thing. But as I was shivering, so by morning I thought that this is not going to solve the purpose because there are a lot of corruption. These people are hand in gloves with the police. So I thought that I should find some way out. Then an idea came to my mind that in Germany and other places I saw that bananas and apples have this label.
Right.
This biological food,
Right.
no chemical is used.
The sticker. That you have to pull off.
So I
Yeah.
thought that if people can put stickers on bananas and apples and potatoes, tomatoes, why can't the stickers be put on carpet? So the whole night I was thinking, yes, whom to talk. So let us launch a consumers campaign in Germany to begin with, and then United States of America. That was in 1990. So 90, we launched the campaign. And there was tremendous response. But I was not against the industry. I have never been against the industry. Because if you kill the industry, you are killing employment, you are killing all of
kill everything else,
opportunities,
right, yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So let us go for a kind of selective promotion of those rugs which are guaranteed being free of child labor. And that time, the phrases like corporate social responsibility were not yet coined in the market. Nobody knew about it. That was the time when nobody could think of a social labeling and monitoring mechanism like this. So it took me and my friends about 5 years to launch the proper social labeling mechanism to find the long-term solution. It could not be possible through rescuing 1, 10, 20, 1,000 children. If another 1,000 and 10,000 are coming, but I'm so happy to say that the combination of several strategies, just the social labeling and monitoring is not
Enough
the answer
either,
to
right.
everything. The legal, policy things, and so many things. So BBA works on all aspects, to begin with preventive measures. Prevention against child labor, child slavery, child trafficking, child sexual abuse, child prostitution, and so on. So educate masses, educate parents, educate children, school-going children, about it. So that we have been doing massively in the communities. We organize long marches for that and so on. Then we work on policies. In many countries, there were no laws, so we have to fight for laws, for good laws. Still fighting for good laws, and India is in pipeline in just enacting a new law against trafficking. India does not have a law on trafficking, and now with our efforts, and again, my son was on the forefront of drafting that law. Bhuvan is on the forefront, you know him. So
I do.
he has drafted several laws, including this one, which is going to come very soon. So the legal...
We will use this film to try to push forward.
legal one thing. But then we have to make sure that laws are enforced, implemented. So we work with the police, we work with the enforcement agencies, prosecutions to ensure the speedy implementation of laws and this justice delivery. So that is a different label, we have to work with that. And then finally, we, as you mentioned, we have 3 rehabilitation centers where we are not doing a typical charity, but we are producing change makers who can really go back in their villages and become the leaders and liberators. So that we have been successful in educating thousands of children like that. And finally, child-friendly village is a combination of several strategies. We have about 600 villages where 4 things have to be attained. 1, no child labor, no child marriage, no child trafficking, no child sexual abuse, zero tolerance to all those things. So, one. Second, all children, irrespective of their caste or communal background or gender, they have to be in schools, boys and girls both. And thirdly, all children of the village form a children's parliament.
This is my favorite part.
So
Listen carefully.
that is inculcation of democratic values, leadership training, sense of responsibility to each other, and making sure that no child is trafficked from that village for prostitution or child labor, and so on. And finally, the village community which has money and power, what we call the village panchayat or village parliament, should agree to work with children's parliament. So when all these things are achieved, then we call it a child-friendly village. And there is a big celebration in that village. There is a big nameplate was put, and people come and celebrate. Oh, we are proud of our village, and that is child-friendly village. But I tell you, Holly, of course, I wanted to learn from the grassroots changes, concrete changes, tangible changes, and it should be cost-effective. So these changes should be multiplicable in my country as well as globally. So my dream is not to create 500 or 5,000 child-friendly village only. My dream is to create a child-friendly world. I'm not going to make any compromise before that. I will see that we create a child-friendly world.
And I think we're in. Nina, to create a child-friendly world, we need to have more companies look into their supply chain and be moved by the urgency. Tell us about the progress and the opportunity ahead in terms of moving to what Kailash is talking about, which is the eradication of child labor everywhere.
Yeah, well, as Kailash said, in the founding days of Rugmark, there weren't terms like CSR, there weren't even probably factory auditing programs and all the kinds of things, at least those of us in the field know about. So we've come a long way in 20 years. I'll share a few promising developments. One is...
And what we can do.
And what we can do, sure. A few things that are happening is laws in the consumer countries. So it's great that we're getting anti-trafficking legislation and stronger child labor laws and work on enforcement. But in the purchasing countries, we also need to have laws that prohibit the companies that are sourcing products in our countries from using child labor, from tapping into these production chains that you saw in the film. So there are several things happening.
And they are not doing it, for the most part, with full knowledge that that's the supply chain they're tapping into?
Correct. Right. And so we have to give them that knowledge, and that's a lot about what we do. There are several, so there's a lot of legislation happening now. So the first important bill in the state of California in the United States, and the most high profile being the UK Modern Slavery Act and several others that are following, especially across the EU, that require companies to get clear about where their products are coming from, to make their supply chains transparent, and report publicly about what they're doing to ensure this. I think many of us would agree these laws aren't strong enough, but it has resulted in shifts in a kind of an openness and more companies getting involved, and certainly getting involved with us. We have over 150 companies around the world that are selling child labor-free carpets, and now many other major brands working with us similarly in apparel, home textiles, fashion jewelry. So this is a new thing. Yes, we've been working a long time in the carpet industry, but now companies are coming to us, and there's a hunger for how can we get this done elsewhere. And the work is hard, so we have to, I don't want to make it sound easy. So we're on a journey with a lot of companies, and what you can do, buy certified child labor-free products, And I think the other thing...
And how can we tell?
Thank you for asking. Look for the GoodWeave label. And we have a website, GoodWeave.org, where people can go and search products by country, by city. So that's certainly one thing to do. And I think if you think about the images you saw in Delhi of young children stitching garments, we've seen, and a lot of research is showing that this sort of fast fashion movement that's happening where there's mass consumption, and we also saw it in the sort of the ads and other images. That
How can these glasses be £1?
Yeah, right, I want more, I want a new pair of jeans and more Christmas ornaments and more jewelry. So, I mean, honestly, we do need to slow it down and think about our own consumerism and pay more and not drive prices down to the point where this kind of thing is happening. So,
Kailash, when we first met a few months ago, you really captured my imagination when you were describing your idea around 100 million, the 100 million campaign. Can you share with the audience what your vision is around that campaign? Because it does also intersect with the role all of us can play in being a part of the solution.
I would say that no problem in the world is born without solution. Solution lies in the womb of the problem itself. One has to be a little bit smart, a little bit compassionate, a little bit courageous. The combination of several factors. I'm not going to talk about the leadership here, as you said. All of them are leaders. I know that they are leaders in their own fields, and they are very, very important people, influencers, and can definitely make a difference. Social entrepreneurs. Actually, when this first social labeling idea in consumers campaign came to my mind, I have launched in America and Germany, people started calling me, oh, this is one of the top social entrepreneurs. So they tagged me with that.
So you're among friends here.
Yeah, so, and with the Skoll and all this, so it was there for many, many years. Anyway, I strongly believe in the power of youth and children while working across 140 countries, to be precise, 144 countries for the last 20 years. I realized that we have not yet tapped. First of all, we have not properly recognized, respected, harnessed and tapped and channelized the power of youth. And that's why it is very fragmented, very scattered. Hundreds of millions of young people in the world are looking for some better purpose of life. And if they are not given that, their energy, their enthusiasm, their idealism go waste, and sometimes, and now we see much more than ever before, disillusionment after some time. Disillusionment with the systems and institutions and so on. And that is raising up to intolerance, impatience, violence. Youth were never so violent as we see now. And that I also mentioned in my Nobel acceptance speech, that we have to address this problem now. We have to give a strong platform, strong voice, recognition to the children, youth. So youth wanted to prove themselves, they wanted to do good for the society. And they are doing here and there, sometimes doing voluntary work, sometimes using social media, the easiest way of just channelizing the energy, but that is not enough. That is important. But sometimes it remains very superficial. It should go a little deeper in changing the policies, concrete outcome at the national level, change in the mindset of community and people. They should be engaged in that deeply. So hundreds of millions of young people are prepared to do it. On the other hand, 100 million young people in the world are victims of violence. Slavery is the worst forms of violence. Child prostitution, use of children for online pornography, which is an increasing menace. Online trafficking is an increasing crime. So these things are there, and children are the worst victims. And I would say that refugee crisis is adding to it.
We were just in
Yeah,
Jordan
so,
together.
so you were in Jordan and you saw that how we brought this issue that we should not ignore that millions of refugees who are on the street, on the move, they are easiest prey for trafficking, slavery, prostitution, child marriages, and so on, which we have noticed. So anyway, so 100 million young people are victims of these problems. So why can't someone who wanted to give and do something good for the society can become the change makers? I have a strong belief that every person is a change maker. You need not to look outside. There is a leader inside you. I always say that don't look heroes and worship them outside. There is a hero inside each one of you. Young people. So why not these 100 million young people can become the change makers and leaders and change makers for those 100 million left out sisters and brothers? So new idea. That is the most ambitious youth campaign to bring about changes in the policies and practice, to ensure that good laws are there and they are implemented, to see that every child is safe, free, and educated. So 100 million for 100 million campaign is the largest and most ambitious campaign in the history. But it does not mean that those who are young in their minds and heart cannot take part in it. You are young. Because you are watching the movie, or when I came, you stand up and I could see your face with commitment, with some sort of, positive response. And your presence brings here strong positive energy. The cumulative energy of this room, I tell you, Holly, and I'm not joking, I'm not a politician. I am an ordinary citizen, and as an ordinary citizen, I can say that if the people sitting in this very room make a decision, a determination, a conviction, a clear goal that we are going to end slavery, trafficking, prostitution of children, we can make it. We can make it.
In our lifetime.
So in coming years, I am going to do it in my lifetime, but those who are already 80-year-old, they have to do it now. So you can. So 100 million for 100 million. Good idea or not? No. Actually, I tell you that those who clap outside the ring or criticize standing outside the ring as a watcher, they never create the history. History is created only by those who jump into the ring without worrying for defeat or without worrying for win. Jump into the ring. We are change makers. Are you? Say yes or no. Yes. Do you want to be one of those 100 million? Yes. Raise your hands. Oh God, I said that raise. I did not say raise your one hand. Raise your hands. I'm looking in the back. Is somebody taking the photo? I'm going to count next time. 100 million for 100 million. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank all of you so much for being a part of this evening and for taking your first step. I sort of want to do it physically. Jumping into the ring with Kailash and Nina on this journey. You have had a special treat, which is to see this film months and months before the rest of the world. And that means that you have a special responsibility, especially given that you are now part of the 100 Million campaign, which is when when this film is launched into the universe this fall as a tool to drive this youth engagement all around the world. My hope is that each and every one of you will bring at least one person, hopefully 10 or 100 or 1,000, because we like to work in numbers with lots of zeros, to watch the film together and decide how you will be responsible for the change we want to make in the world. And I ask you to do this with others because change happens together. So thank you so much for being part of this evening, and thank you, Kailash and Nina, for your time and commitment and leadership. And I hope everyone sleeps well tonight.